Hey guys, how are y'all doing? So today is actually a relatively awesome day. I woke up this morning and kind of noticed that my subscribers jumped and I made it over that 1,000 mark. So guys, I really appreciate you subscribing to my channel and coming and viewing my cooking demos and different vlogs and various things that I post up. So again, thank you guys for everything that you do. I really appreciate that. And those of you that have come over from my sister's channel, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to check my stuff out. So today, and I'm gonna be kind of cheesy, is a relatively egg-citing day, right? So, yeah, I know, that was lame. So we're gonna work on eggs today. Now, eggs are kind of like a major staple of any kind of food made, especially here in America and around the world. There's hundreds of ways to make eggs. Obviously, I won't get to all 100 of them, but I'll show you kind of 5 or 6 main ways that we eat eggs and how to make them and how to properly make them. Now, eggs in general are used in a good majority of things that are made in our food groups, right? Like breads, cakes, cookies. They're used in savory items. They're used as binding agents. They're used as, oh man, flavor adders. They're used as color embracers. I mean, you can take the yolks and spread them over things and give them a browning effect, especially when you're cooking them. So those of you who say, hey, I don't like eggs, you definitely like eggs, because there's so many things that you eat that contain eggs, or that eggs were used in producing them. So it's gonna be really cool. I'm gonna show you guys how to make eggs. A lot of people, I feel like, maybe struggle with that or don't actually know the right way to make eggs. And so we're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna show you a few different ways how to make them, and let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna start with the fried egg, right? So this is kind of like when you go to a restaurant and you order an over easy or over medium, over hard egg. It is the fried egg, right? So we're going to start by, I have the pan heated to medium high. Right now on my stove, I've got it to about 6, but I've got a relatively large burner for a gas stove. If you notice, it's kind of bigger even than the smaller one that's over here, and it heats pans really hot, and if I'm not careful, I can actually burn stuff really easily. So I would say on an average size stove or like an electric stove, you could go with like 6 or 7. I'm gonna stay between medium and 6. So I'm just gonna put a small amount of cooking oil. Nothing too crazy, just enough to coat the pan. It is a non-stick pan. I probably don't need it, but just to aid with cooking it in general, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So you got the egg. Now, a lot of people like to crack the egg like on the side of the pan or like on a sharp edge. The reason you don't want to do that is because you actually run the risk of getting shell in your egg a lot more. It's a lot better to actually tap it on a flat surface, start the crack, and then open it above the pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a nice good tap on the top and pull it apart. Now I've got a salt pepper mixture over here. I'm just gonna put a little bit over the top of it, and we're gonna allow the egg to cook. Now I would say that for an over easy egg, about 30 seconds or so on the first side is gonna be good, and I would increment up about 20 seconds every time you want the next level. So if you want over medium or over easy or over hard, just add about 20 more seconds. So really what we're looking for in an over easy egg is for obviously the yolk to still be running and the white part to also still have some movement in it. Now I'm gonna kind of just come around the side part of the egg here just to kind of loosen it from the pan. We're looking for it to be able to move when I move the pan. Now if it's not moving, it's because it's not done yet. All right, now that it's free moving, we can go ahead and flip the egg. Now ultimately you're really looking to not actually get any color on the egg. Granted, I did get some browning just because of the hot spots of the oil, on around the edges, but ultimately if you can keep browning to a minimum of the egg, it actually has a better flavor. Now I'm only gonna give it about 15 or 20 seconds on that side, and we've got a finished over easy egg. Now we're gonna work on a sunny side up egg. Now, I happen to like eggs all different ways. Some people don't like them with a runny yolk. Most people like them just scrambled. But we're gonna do a sunny side up egg. Now, again, I'm just gonna make sure there's just a small amount of cooking oil in the pan. It is a non-stick pan, so you shouldn't need too much. Just kind of coat the pan evenly. Now, for a sunny side up egg, obviously you have a major presentation side. The presentation side is the side with the yolk. It is pretty customary to make sure that you don't see like pepper flakes or seasoning on the top part. So what I do is I'll go ahead and just put the seasoning at the bottom part of the pan. Right, just where I'm gonna get ready to crack the egg and put it on top of there. So that way we still have the seasoning in the egg, but you don't see it on the presentation side. So I'm gonna crack the egg and just put it right on top of the seasoning. Now, if you have a smaller pan, that'll kind of like work out better in the long run, right? Because you won't have some of these stray sides come out. It'll kind of get self-contained in the pan. But don't get discouraged just because some parts are running off. You can always kind of like, if you're looking for a better presentation, you can end up like cutting these parts off, right? You can just kind of take them off because they are going to brown a whole lot more. Now, with that cooking, it just depends on how stiff you want the white part, right? So about 30 seconds or so for easy, 50 seconds or so for medium, and about a minute and 10 seconds for over hard. Really, this is kind of an easy egg to tell because as it's cooking, you can see the white part either stiffening or not, depending on what you're looking for. Now, it is really important to make sure that one, your eggs are safe, right? That you're keeping them chilled because you can eat eggs pretty much raw. You do kind of run a small risk of having issues if they're not properly taken care of or they're not from a reputable source. So now that we're starting to get kind of movement here, we can either take the egg off because you still have some runny part here, or we can let it cook a little bit longer. We are going to work on making scrambled eggs, right? So kind of a good serving of scrambled eggs, I would say, especially in like my professional setting or what I've experienced, is 3, right? So that's most commonly what you're gonna get when you go to like a breakfast restaurant of some kind, or if you order like a side of eggs, you're gonna get three scrambled eggs. So I'm gonna go ahead and start just by cracking the egg into a bowl. And with scrambled eggs, we'll go ahead and put the seasonings in with the eggs while we're whisking them together. So got my little salt and pepper mixture here, put a little bit of that in there. And with scrambled eggs, I personally like ground cumin or ground comino. I'll put just a little bit of that in there, just a dash of both of them, nothing too crazy on either one of them. I don't even have a measuring amount, and if I used a measuring amount, it would be a pinch. So the key to getting really fluffy scrambled eggs is first to scramble them before you put them into the pan. So we'll go ahead and just take them and make sure that you've got a homogeneous liquid, right? So we're looking for something that looks the same throughout the entire, without the entire mixture, right? We don't want it to have still some of the albumin or the white part or the yolk still kind of showing. So the more scrambled and the more whisk you can get them, the better off and the more fluffy you're gonna get them. So I would say a good, I don't know, 20 seconds or so, and you should have a relatively good egg mixture to be able to use for scrambling. So if we take a look at that, you'll see that it's all kind of one liquid. We've kind of aerated it a little bit, and overall we're gonna get some really good fluffy scrambled eggs. All right, so now that we've got our egg mixture, we've got our pan hot, I'm gonna add just a little bit of cooking oil into our skillet, and we're gonna start by making the scrambled eggs. I would say the key to making good scrambled eggs is one, to keep the mixture moving the entire time as it's cooking. Don't at any point let it sit. You really don't want any browning. Scrambled eggs are really easy to keep from browning as long as you keep them moving. A lot of things also people make a mistake on as far as scrambled eggs is they overcook them. Right now, if that's a personal preference of yours and you like them scrambled hard, where they've kind of like started to lose all the moisture that's in them and they've flattened out, I mean, by all means, I am not here to question how you like eggs. But I am here to show you how to get the most fluffy and best, like I would say, more appetizing eggs. So we're gonna go ahead and just get that into the pan and just kind of keep it moving. You'll notice as I'm moving it around, and with the pan being as hot as it is, you start to see the folds and the ridges into the scrambled eggs. It shouldn't take very long to get them scrambled and to get them fluffy. You do want to leave some of the moisture in there. I wouldn't say more than 20 or 25 seconds and your eggs should be fully cooked and ready to eat. Now you'll notice there's still kind of a shine to them. That's when it's a perfect time to take them off of the plate. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with just a simple omelet. Now as far as omelets go, you can have any ingredients you'd like in it, whether that's onions, bell peppers, ham, bacon, mushrooms. Only thing that I would say is to pre-cook the omelet, or pre-cook the ingredients in the omelet prior to making it with this method. So now that the pan's hot, I'm going to add a little bit of oil into there just to help with keeping it from sticking. Now I have the same egg mixture that I used for scrambled eggs. The only difference is that I only use 2 eggs versus 3, and that's going to be to allow it to cook a lot more evenly and make sure that it cooks all the way through before we start to roll the omelet. So now with the pan hot, I'm going to go ahead and add our egg mixture into it. Now one thing I like to do with omelets is I like to grab the sides of it and kind of pull it up and allow some of that egg mixture to go down into the side of it that's on the top. Where we want it to cook as evenly as possible and keep it from browning on the bottom. So I'll kind of do that until all of it goes down to the sides. Now you'll notice that it started to already cook all the way through. Now to keep it from browning, we're gonna go ahead and start the rolling process here. So I'll put a little bit of cheese in here, just as a simple basic omelet. And we're going to use the pan to help us roll this omelet. Right, so we'll go ahead and start grabbing the side and rolling it over. And now this last bit here, we'll go ahead and bring the plate over and roll it onto the plate for the last flip over. So you'll see here, now we've got an omelet that's perfectly rolled onto the plate. The egg is nice and soft. We did get a little bit of color, which is not overly an issue, but the less color you can get on eggs, the better. Now we are going to make the infamous poached egg, right? So poached eggs are used most commonly in the application of Eggs Benedict, which is probably one of my favorite breakfast items. So I'm going to show you guys how to make a perfectly poached egg. So now that I've got water boiling about 1 inch from the top of the pan, I'm gonna go ahead and put a teaspoon of salt. All right, let's get it turned down so we don't get boiled over the top. And I am going to put 2 teaspoons of white distilled vinegar. This is going to allow for the egg to hold together when you're poaching it and also add some flavor to it as you're cooking. Now, I have a small glass here that I'm going to first crack the egg into. So we're going to go ahead and get a good rotation on the water before we actually add the egg in. This is going to allow it to cook evenly and hopefully hold together a lot better. So we'll start just a small rotation on it, and we're going to go ahead and add the egg quickly. I wouldn't, don't let it kind of trace in, because then you'll lose some of the white part to it going in slower. So we're going to try and add it in as quickly as possible with the water rotating. So now you'll see some of the string kind of like come up as it's cooking. That's okay. When you pull the whole egg out, you'll still have a nice like white shell around the outside of it. So I would give it about 30 to 45 seconds to cook fully, You're still gonna have a very runny yolk in the middle, but that's very indicative of a poached egg, and that's kind of the point of it. Especially like over an Eggs Benedict, where you have the hollandaise sauce and you have the poached egg. That gives you that liquid that goes over the English muffin. Alright, so now we're going to use a slotted spoon to go ahead and pull our poached egg out. We're going to carefully pull it out as to not ruin the yolk, and we can go ahead and put it on top of an English muffin or just on the plate or any application that you're going to use it in. So I want to go over some key points with each one of these eggs, right? So first here we have the poached egg. The poached egg is cooked all the way on the outside, the white part of it, and you've got the yolk still intact. So one of the indicative parts of poached egg is that when you cut into it, that this part is still runny. As you can see on both of these, that part is still runny. If it's not runny and it's not running off the plate, you've actually overcooked it. Now on the omelet, we want to make sure that the omelet is doesn't have very much color on it, that it was cooked all the way through. You might have to make some adjustments on your oven or your stove based on whether you have an electric, you have gas, you have smaller burners or bigger burners. I've noticed on mine that for scrambled eggs or omelets or even fried eggs, I've had to go down to medium or even a little bit below medium, just because if I don't, it will brown before the whole egg is cooked. So you notice here that there's almost no color. There might be a little bit of color just on some of the edges, but overall, there's no color on this omelet and it's fully cooked all the way through. Now with the scrambled eggs, the same thing. Now with the scrambled eggs, you're gonna see the seasoning and everything throughout the egg, which you can change if you use white pepper, but white pepper does have a different flavor than black pepper. In professional settings, a lot of times we will use white pepper just for presentation sakes, but at home, I mean, no one's really gonna be the wiser and or care if they see black pepper flakes throughout their scrambled eggs. Now these are relatively fluffy, they're still really fluffy. They have very little color, if any at them on all, and they still have a little bit of moisture in them even after sitting for a while creating the rest of the demos. So one thing you just want to make sure that your heat's low enough on them and that you consistently keep them stirring to keep the air and everything going in them to keep them fluffy. Now with fried eggs and sunny side up eggs, same thing. You want to make sure that the heat's relatively low enough so that way the white part or the albumin part of the egg can actually cook and coagulate, and you don't brown the edges or the outside of the egg, and that the yolk gets a chance to get hot. Now this fried egg, I did have it a little bit hotter than I probably should have, which is why we got some browning, but if you turn it down, it won't. Now this is an over easy egg, and the reason you can tell is that one, the yolk is still runny, and the white part still has some runny parts to it as you open it up. Now, if you want it over medium or over easy, the white part will start to set more, and over hard, the yolk will also be set as well. Now, eggs in general, they can be made several different ways. These are only 5 different ways that you can make it, and that's barely touching the surface. All right, well, I hope you guys had an exciting time with me making eggs and learning different ways to make eggs and kind of the proper way to cook them. Man, I had a great experience in culinary school when it came to eggs, actually. We had several days where we learned different things that we could do with eggs and make with eggs. One of the things I actually got to try, and I'll show a picture of it in this video, is what's referred to as a century egg. A century egg is a Chinese method of preserving eggs, right? Because way back when, we're talking several centuries ago, you know, they had no refrigeration, they had no way to keep things fresh, so a lot of times they either used preserving methods such as salting items and or pickling them, or in this case they used what's called a fermented process, right, where they actually put this mud-like substance around the shell of the egg. It contained several different things such as salt. It had like a chlorine or like a sodium chloride type of substance in the soil that they were using, and they would encase the outside of the egg of it, and at some points they would leave them anywhere from a week to several months. And when they removed it, it would have this dark green yolk on the inside, and it would have a very pungent flavor. I had the opportunity to try those at school, and I'll tell you, it's a very acquired taste, but it could be used as a condiment in something or an ingredient in something, which would make a big difference to the plate or the dish overall. Guys, again, I appreciate you guys coming by and watching one of my cooking demos. And if you have any questions about different ways to make eggs, I know that I barely touched the surface. I didn't even get into boiling eggs, which if you guys have any questions, feel free to definitely put in the comment. And also, if you like this video, please push the like button. And also, if you're looking forward to more demos and more vlogs, please push the subscribe button. Again, guys, thank you guys for helping me grow my channel, and I really appreciate everything you guys are doing for me. So you guys have a great day, and thanks.